All right, welcome Mark and Tim again to the show here. Talk to expert. People, my name is Kumar and I head the team here at Ijona Services. And along with me, we have two of our best friends, Mark and Tim, both joining in from US, different cities altogether. And I am based out in Bangalore here. What an evening, the last evening of 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great. We'll talk at length, but people, we will continue the discussion where we left last Thursday. Um, Mark, you can pull up your presentation that you have prepared. In the meantime, Tim, how are you feeling? 2020 is going off.
Oh, it's going off in wonderful ways. We feel there's a sense of control that we haven't had in the last 12 months. In these last 2 or 3 months, it seems like the emotions of the community and the state I'm in are a lot more stable and a lot more predictable. People are getting the shots, of vaccines. In my state, it's rather calm. Now, Colorado and California now have had breakouts in the new variant of the virus. And our governor already has gone on television and said, guys, all we have to do is wear masks and stay 6 feet apart, 2 meters apart, and, be aware that the vaccine pretty much works against this, and just keep hunkering down. It's going to get bad and then it's going to get better. And so things are going pretty well. It's a wrap up to a really exciting year, exciting both in good and bad ways. How's that?
Right. Yeah. And Mark, how are you feeling? 2020 is going off.
Well, it's like Charles Dickens said, it's the best of times. It was the worst of times. It was what did he say? It was the season of light. It was the season of darkness. It was the spring of hope. It was the winter of despair. And with the work that I'm doing, I am experiencing both in different ways. I mean, in the United States, there are segments of the population that are really being hit hard by this coronavirus. And it's often the minority groups, lower working class. So I know a lot of my clients have no people and no family members that have died from this coronavirus. So we have to talk about it almost every time we have a group or every other group. I mean, people, some people are really, this is not something you just read about or view on the television. At the same time, this profound crisis has brought us together in a way that, can't make up for those lost lives, but it has enriched the lives of the living and created a new kind of family and a new kind of community. So it's, as I say, it's a very double-edged sword here, at least in my world. And of course, my world isn't that world. I mean, I can stay in my little cave and do my virtual work and, take walks around the lake and, but so we need to be aware that there are many different realities as we approach the end of this year. And at the same time, one of the exciting things is this virtual world that we're creating. these virtual platforms that has brought me, you, and Tim together. For example, I mean, you and Tim have been doing this, but you've invited me in, and that's been a blessing and a great sharing, and and just having the the different groups that we're running. So it's been a very complex 2020, but as Tim said, there is some hope, on the horizon, and I just hope most people can make it through this, this final phase, or the next
Right.
3 to 6 months before the real vaccine rollout. And then, of course, the challenge is a lot of people don't want the vaccine. So how that's going to play out. So there's a lot of questions that lie ahead. And but I'm glad that I have two other minds like you, both yours and Tim's, to help me make sense of it all.
Right. No, there has been lots of ups and downs out there. We'll discuss that, but what's the subject today? We are continuing the same discussion where we left last week, Thursday. That's about developing stress resilience, ritual and at the workplace, especially in this COVID-19 um, era, which started in 2020 officially. All right. So, Mark, do you want me to present your slides? Do you want
Yeah,
me to pull that up?
let's see. Share screen. Okay. And how do I get this slide up there? Can you see it?
Okay.
Just a second.
And actually, I'm on slide. This is where we want to begin at
Okay. Don't
slide
bother.
7.
If you want, I can share this. No worries. You want me to share that?
Sure.
All right. Give me one quick second, people.
Start with slide 7.
Slide 7.
There we go. I see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, but I somehow I have a box.
No problem. No problem. We can continue it here. We left on slide 6 last Thursday.
Okay, yeah, now
Uh,
it's
let's begin with the 5 P's here. And let me put it on full screen mode. Yeah.
okay, great.
All right. So, what are these 5 P's? I mean,
Well,
I remember last Thursday when the moment I moved to this slide, Tim was very excited to discuss on this, and then I had to conclude that particular day. So, yeah, here we begin. Please go ahead.
well, let me just say, we had talked about the art of designing disorder, and I went through 5 different stages of creative risk taking, and kind of into the arena, uh, warily jumping over your head, strive to survive the high dive, thrive on frustration, and take an incubation vacation, and kind of have that transformative moment when you begin to put the pieces of the all the pieces together, and then you have that design for error and opportunity. How do you go about really taking your idea and fleshing it out and applying it and sharing it? And so that was the stage for this model. And this model for me, how it came about, I was asked to do a workshop for managers and employee assistance program professionals. We're all familiar with EAPs, right? Do I need to explain that?
I don't think so. Well, for international groups,
Okay.
it might be good.
Okay. So EAP, an employee assistance program, is a mandated program in the United States for all federal and almost all state government agencies. And it's, almost as extensive in major companies. And basically, it says that one of the rights you have as an employee in our company or in our government agency is you have the right to get some counseling services, whether it's for individual psychological counseling, family counseling, maybe financial problems, legal issues. All these services are captured under the employee assistance program, and usually have a right to, somewhere between 2 and 6 sessions. That's for free. And after that, then you negotiate through your own individual provider and insurance company. So this is a big thing, in the United States, where almost everyone has, or a lot of people have access to this employee assistance program. So there's, not surprisingly, an Employee Assistance Professionals Association. And they had asked me to come in many years back to give a program on how you give dynamic presentations. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, okay, in fact, can you go back one slide? Do I? No, okay, I didn't include it. That's okay. This is fine. Go back the other way. I'm sorry. No, the other way.
Go forward.
I'm
back
sorry.
To slide 7.
Yeah.
There.
No. Go back. There we go. One back. There you go. Yeah, just where you were. Anyway, so I was thinking, what do I try to bring to the table as a speaker? And I realized I like to be cognitive, use my head, and I like to be affective, use my heart. But I also like to be serious. I chose the word gravitas, a very good Washington, D.C. word, like really serious. And this is an important issue. And I chose, there's a counterpoint, comedia. And the reason I chose comedia, because if you think about it, humor has many different shapes. It can be slapstick silly to witty, So comedia for me was a broad category. And then you have like a 2x2 matrix. If you put those cognitive and affective, gravitas, and comedia. And I called cognitive affective the mindset, and gravitas and comedia your mood set. And of course, this is a very interactive model. So, or we can hear some background noise. Or we can hear some background noise on your. I think it's probably
background noise. Give me 1 quick second. Let me mute myself.
Yeah, take your time.
There we go.
Are we ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So cognitive and gravitas, if you put that, it's like a 2x2 matrix. Cognitive and gravitas, when you put those together, and this is a model for, really, it could be for speaking, for leadership communication, for any communication that really wants to have an impact. Cognitive and gravitas gives you a sense of being purposeful. Cognitive and purposeful, we understand, is to have, I call it aim. What are your actions, your intentions, and what is the meaning that your actions and intentions have for yourself and for others? So actions, intentions, and meaning. This is something that we all need to give a little bit more reflection to. And that's purposeful. Cognitive and co-media, it came up with the word provocative, but not in the sense of, R-rated, but from the French provoquer, which means to arouse and sort of challenge the curiosity, arouse the mind. And as a communicator, do I want to, and as a leader, do I want to be challenging and stimulating minds and curiosity? Boy, that's a no-brainer. So what about affective, the heart, and gravitas? And there the word for me was passionate. But again, passionate is not so much the 3-letter S word, but the 9-letter S word. Passionate as in suffering, as in the Passion play, as the sufferings of Jesus, sufferings of a martyr. Basically, passion is when we sense there's a wrong and we're determined to right it. Or I can no longer accept this injustice or this burnout situation. I've got to either fix it or I've got to move on. Whatever it is, it's that position that you take where you feel I've had enough. I've got to take a stand. It's the opposite of burnout. And then finally, comedia and affective, playful. And this is so intrinsic to the human species that when we're really our most free, open, less worried about what people think. We feel comfortable in our own skin. Our natural mode is to be playful, more confident. I think I've shared this before. A psychiatrist once said, what was once feared and is now mastered is laughed at. So when we've overcome some situation and we look back on it, we can laugh both at our own flaws and foibles and realize it wasn't as terrible. I mean, at some point, we're going to be, at least some aspects of this whole COVID situation, we also are going to be able to laugh at. Just like how it became a big joke, the shortage of toilet paper in this country, and there were a lot of toilet paper jokes.
And we need that. And we need that. This is what's so fascinating to me, because you could take this to Hollywood and create the multiple voices in a movie or a theater show. You could take this into a leadership environment and work with leaders to help them convey messages to different levels based on the needs of the people they're speaking to. You can use this for your personal life too, to actually use your we think that emotions get in the way sometimes because I feel sad or something, but emotions are also, like you said, they're tools. We can use them to shape our personal environments as well as the environments of the world around us. This is a beautiful model, and this is where Aristotle was coming in, and he was saying each of these has a purpose. Each of these mindsets, each of these spirits have a purpose, and it's our purpose to manage and modify these as they are needed.
Let me build on that, Tim. First, just let me finish so when you can put them all together, being purposeful, provocative, passionate, playful, you're then entering the realm of the philosophical.
Mm-hmm.
A real understanding of integrated knowledge and wisdom. Now, before we go to that, let's stay there for a moment. One of the fun exercises I've been able to do with groups is to, after I go through the model, and I'll often break it. First, I'll have groups, let's say, talk about, let's say 4 or 5 people in a group. Which of these are you strongest? Are you and a lot of people are strong in cognitive gravitas, the purposeful. But I asked them, but how are you doing on the provocative or the playful? Yeah, not as good, but there are some people are. Anyway, we have a discussion. I facilitate a discussion in the groups. Talk to someone who's strong in an area in which it's still a vulnerable part for you. And that becomes a great way of sharing and learning from each other.
Yeah.
So now, after we do that, I'll say, let me ask you, do you think it's possible to be purposeful, provocative, passionate, playful, and maybe even philosophical all at the same time? And, and of course, the audience is looking at me, oh, what is he talking about? I think it may be. And here's how we're going to find out. We're going to do my 4-word exercise. Are you ready? Here it is. Share an embarrassing moment. Begin. And suddenly there's a silence, like, share an embarrassing moment. I don't know these people. I know these people too well. I don't want them to. But finally, someone will say, okay, and they share a story. And you can begin to see that as they're sharing the story, there's body language, there's an animation, there might be initial awkwardness, but they've done it. And you can see the room is starting to build some energy. But then what happens invariably? Someone in the group will say, oh, that was good. Let me tell you about my experience.
Right.
And before you know it, this room is abuzz with, you mentioned Hollywood, with dramatic body language, with sharing, with laughing, because everyone's relating, and everyone's feeling more free because someone has risked sharing pulling down their mask, as it were, and they don't have to have it all together. And they did have, some crazy experience, of things happening, whether at a wedding or, or one woman talked about walking on a nude beach and suddenly being approached by this man with a kid. It's a freeing. It's that playfulness. And we don't, until we've experienced it, wow, I can really be purposeful, provocative, passionate, playful. I can bring this kind of energy, this kind of, as we'll see in the next slide, enlightenment, that I can really engage with myself and with others in a way I didn't fully understand.
And you know what? We have these inside us all the time. When I was studying music, I'm a classically trained singer. I had a lot of gravitas on the stage, and I loved working with music from the 19th century Western Europe, because there's a lot of grief and a lot of frustration in the music, and it's purposeful and passionate. And the greatest sense of feeling I had was the music's over and there's a silence and everybody is afraid to clap, and then everybody claps. It's incredibly moving. I liken this to the difference between a legislator who is a lawmaker and a statesman who is a great speaker or orator. Now, when I started working, I didn't have any access to gravitas because I was a young kid, and I didn't have a lot of ability to actually present or speak deeply about something I had conviction on. But at the same time, I was really able to engage at the comedian side, provocative and playful. So I challenged ideas, I played with ideas, and I actually engaged people in playing with ideas too. A lot of my work didn't really challenge authority, but it questioned it constantly. And it was only until about 7 or 8 years ago that I was able to actually start understanding that gravitas and comedia, being serious and forthright, as well as being provocative and playful, are just part of the same spectrum. And we all have access to this. That's the beautiful thing, Mark.
And what it does is it takes a certain amount of risk and practice. That is, I've got to, that's what I saw with these folks. They were willing to risk once I created the conditions to start sharing stories that really brought all of this together. Kumar, how does this model speak to you?
I mean, this is great. I was just hearing, and sorry, I was on mute for a long time out there. But then, as Tim mentioned, we already have this. It's just that many of us don't realize that these capabilities are within the people out there, and for the matter, the people who has kind of understood that these capabilities are there, and I mean, those guys are really, really powerful, isn't it?
And
go on. When we're ready, we can flesh this out a little more in the following slides.
Yeah, and I want to say one last thing about this.
Please.
Everybody that teaches management talks about keeping people engaged and keeping people interested in work, and this is how you do it. This is the how to the what of engagement, and a lot of it's like, how do I keep people engaged? Well, share information with them. No, it's much deeper than that. It's touching them at the simultaneous mood and mind. It's simultaneous intellect and heart. It's simultaneous, purpose and focus, as well as playfulness, and it's a weaving of it.
As you said, and maybe the question is, how do I engage these aspects within myself first, so then I can then really project them and share them with others?
That's the beginning of emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence starts with, how do I understand my mechanism inside me before I can actually engage and understand others. You're right.
Goleman, you mentioned emotional intelligence. Daniel Goleman, the popularizer of that concept.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things he found is that managers that use humor, effective managers use humor 3 times more often than their lesser effective counterparts.
And that's understandable. and it's funny because everybody has heard emotional intelligence, and we all understand it as understanding others, but there's a whole galaxy of wisdom and knowledge under emotional intelligence that says, if you take the same microscope and focus on yourself, you can really not just explore it and understand the world you live in, but like you said, it pulls out tools like this that help you become much more powerful and much more effective in your work.
And as you said, a great word, an engagement. And in fact, let's go to the next slide, Kumar, so we can. Now, this one gets a little complex, but I'm going to break it down in a few other slides. But Here's another aspect that came to me later on, more recently, was that you could flesh out like purposeful. I started thinking of the 5 P's of passion power, and suddenly it expanded to the 6 E's. So purposeful, the role there is educating, provocative, and of course I'm simplifying, but that's what models do. They simplify so they can help us see the integration of knowledge. And then, of course, once you've seen a model, you can then expand upon it from your own personal experience. So this is not, the 10 Commandments, but it's one way of integrating and hopefully giving us a tool to simplify some complex information. So purposeful, we can relate to educating. Provocative, as we said, it's really challenging people's curiosity and questions. We want to energize them. Passionate, talked about its connection to pain and suffering. That helps us empathize with others. Playful, well, it's many things, but certainly it entertains. And entertaining is not just making people happy. Playful, entertaining, you entertain new possibilities. And if we put all these together, the philosophical realm involves real engagement and real enlightenment. And I recently read something that said knowledge is when you help people sort of understand things outside themselves. Wisdom is when you help people really understand that which is within themselves. And I thought that was a very, interesting, because wisdom really helps us bring out what we're just saying is inside ourselves already. Knowledge gives us the tool to maximize what we have and really have it apply to the world around us. Anyway, and also I'm going to get to, you notice how I have compelling under gravitas, captivating, substance, style. Let's go to the next slide. We begin to.
This is a great slide out there, Mark.
What's
thanks. No, I'm just saying that thanks for putting this up. This defines the characteristics of a human pretty well. Yeah, this is amazing. Let's move to the next slide. Let's see what's there.
Okay, this is where I begin to help us see why I say, is there a difference between compelling and captivating? Well, interesting. Compelling is more substance, involves information. And on the passion power side, it's related more to power and is more left brain. So let's see what the definition of compelling is here. Very interesting. Able to grab, focus, and hold your attention. So something about compelling, there's a very physical, kind of grounded aspect of it. I can grab, I'm going to hold your attention. Capable of causing someone to believe or agreement. So it's providing information. It's changing a point of view. Strong and forceful, causing you to feel that you must do something. You must take action. So that's why I called it the AAA. It involves intention, agreement, and action. And as we'll see, here are some synonyms under compelling: push, force, focus, head, insight, purpose, power, more analytical, more the power. Let's take a look at captivating. Here I'm saying captivating involves style, imagination. It's more the passion side of passion power. It's more right brain. where the left brain tends to be a little bit more analytic. The right brain is a little bit more integrative, imaginative, and capturing interest as if by a spell. That is, there's intrigue. Believe me, when I ask those groups, do you think you can be, purposeful, provocative, passionate, playful, and maybe philosophical all at once? Believe me, they were, what is this man talking about? They were intrigued. To influence and dominate by some special charm, art, or trait. Having an appeal or allure, being irresistible. So now we have pull, fantasy, flow, heart, intrigue, possibility, passion. Let's move ahead to the next slide, Kumar, because this is the one I added. Hopefully it's so we can see this better. Can you move to the next slide? Move ahead. Oh no, you've got the old slide. Okay, something's wrong.
Is this the old one that I pulled in?
Well, I don't think you have the one that I have on my screen.
Okay, would you like? Can you share that? I mean, if you could share,
okay,
that would be even better.
Okay, let's see if I can share it. Share screen. Share screen. Share. Okay, I'm trying to pull it up, and doesn't seem to be pulling up.
All right, you probably have to click that window that you see out on the screen, Mark, and then hit the button share.
So I click the application window? Oh, yeah. Okay, share. Okay, can you see it?
Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
Okay.
There we go. May I say one thing before you get started? See, this is the whole crux between being someone who's a part of a room and actually creating influence and movement in a room. Everybody asks me how to be a leader, and what you're giving me is the mechanisms, the how, what, and why between it, because we follow people who actually compel us to think in different ideas, and we don't like it because it gets us out of our normal laziness, but at the same time, we almost have to. And what you're showing us is the characteristics. It's called debate. It's not winning through force or through brute. I'm louder than you and I win and therefore you lose. It's you and I are working together, and I'm creating an environment where you and I can not just come up with an idea, come up with the best idea together. I think I have the right idea, but it also creates a level playing field where we all can sort of engage and work together. And this is a real finesse. It's a real art in learning how to manage and lead people, to be able to step from this area of argument to where I win and you lose, to debate. And what you're creating for us is a platform and a framework in which to not just conceptualize it, but to work with the very mechanisms of humans to create it naturally. This is it right here.
Sometimes you don't know what you do. I just thought I was playing around with words,
And this is and I want to go back to this. It's latent. It's something that we do, like ride a bike. It's natural. It's part of a human function, and just part of how we interact. But understanding these things allow us to practice and refine and master this. And this is where you have people who move from being speakers to being orators, from being managers to being leaders. This is great.
Also, it's important. This is yin and yang. We need at times to be compelling. We need at times to be captivating. We need at times to be both. This is, sometimes we need to push people from behind. Sometimes we need to, have a vision and pull them from ahead. We sometimes, in certain situations, some force is sometimes necessary. But also fantasy. Giving people, oh, wow, you mean I can strive for that? We want focus. We want to, people to, but sometimes you want to let people just let their imaginations flow. Let, sort of just, let me see where I'm going to go with this. We know we need the head, but we also need heart. We want to have insight. We want to have deeper understanding, but we want to explore the mysteries about us, and the possibilities. Sure, we want purpose, but we also not just want everyone to have a 9-to-5 purpose. What else is there? What else can we, achieve or reflect upon? And we want power. Nobody says power is unimportant, but passion is also.
And let's bring this into the business arena too, because this is the very difference between what we call management and what we call leadership. And you can't have one or the other. You have to have both. Management says, go over there, pick up that box, move it there and sit it down in the corner. And you finished it in 17 seconds. And the last 5 times you've done it in 19 seconds. And boy, you're doing better. It measures. It has a clipboard and keeps track of everything. And that's what management does. It keeps the business running, and it makes the business run better. And you have to have that. And leadership opens up the discussion and creates that environment so that you can invite new ideas, new possibilities, new mysteries. And being both a manager and leader is a requirement now in the work. We no longer can rely on being good Excel workers. We have to embrace this knowledge in ourselves in order to just stay relevant in work now.
Kumar, any thoughts?
No, looks good. Good to me. I mean, these characteristics. I'm just thinking. These were already there. It's just that those words were not coming to my mind. I think, like me, there are other people as well who are listening in.
And frankly, we've been talking for the last 2 shows. This has been an exciting, horrible, and wonderful year. We've learned through new things. We've explored. We've hit our head against many horrible obstacles. We have to work in the face of great fear and unknown. And at the same time, we have to move forward as if we know what we're doing. And with understanding how we react and what we have to do to actually pull not just ourselves together, but help the groups pull together. This is actually a great compass for figuring out what other tools can I engage with? What am I not working with? What works with this group of people? What works with me right now? Sometimes I'm more compelling. Sometimes I'm more captivating. And I'm not talking about working with people who report into me, with myself. And it's a great, this framework is a great exploration tool to actually look at that.
Shall I go to the next one?
Please do.
Okay. And where are we? Did it come up? Yes. So here, unfortunately, this is a little small, but let me read it. So this is the P's and E's, and it was my attempt to try to make it a little bit more accessible to capture what we're talking about. And so substance and style, compelling and captivating. Because we all have a sense of the difference between substance, that's the meat of the issue, and style, maybe that's the sauce that we put on the meat to bring out the flavor even more, or to make it have a unique taste and rhythm and rhyme. And so mindset and mood set. So we have cognitive gravitas, substance and compelling, and that's the head. And we saw earlier, the first model said cognitive gravitas is purposeful, and the E with that P is educated. So here we can clearly see when you put the cognitive, the head, and the gravitas together, the P and E is purposeful and educated. Cognitive and comedia. Here we're talking again substance, but now we're talking about captivating in the heart. And there you get provocative and energizing. Affective and gravitas. Now you get style and compelling, dealing with information. Passionate and empathizing. Affective and comedia, style, captivating, imagination, get playful and entertaining. And when we put all of them together, substance and style, compelling and captivating, we're talking about the realm of philosophical, engaging, and enlightening. And truth be told, when we're really at our best, we're integrating all of this. And that's the goal. It's like in philosophy, it's sometimes an ideal. Believe me, it's rare that when I'm equally, operating on all these 5 cylinders. But it's something I know I want to be conscious of, that I want to be thoughtful, analytical, give out good information, but I want to do it in a way, in a style that's engaging, that's challenging, that's playful, that I can poke fun of myself, can use humor not just to laugh at others, but more importantly, laugh at my own self. Because what does that do? Wow, Mark isn't so uptight. Mark doesn't have to pretend he's Mr. Perfect. Maybe I can have some of that freedom as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're talking about. How do you become a role model for
and as a leader, you find yourself not just demonstrating, but almost consciously giving people permission to let down their guards and take off their armor and actually play with this stuff, because it's in the playfulness that we really do learn. It's not just making mistakes and being ashamed and that kind of thing, but it's playing and toying and turning these around and seeing what else you can make of them.
And to laugh at your own mistakes. That's one of the greatest gifts.
Yes, that's the beautiful part of this.
So, gentlemen, those were the slides that I wanted to present today.
And that's beautiful. And as we all said in our own ways, this is not just something that we can take into the office and work with our workers on. This is something we can take into our internal school, our lessons, and our blackboard inside our school, inside of us, and we can actually start playing with this. And this is where it starts getting really interesting. This is where life is not just a heavy, roll a rock uphill. This is where you start learning that it is a fun, and sometimes it's rolling rocks, and sometimes it's dancing. Sometimes it's working with a sword and hitting something 10,000 times, and sometimes it's playing with a sword with a ribbon around it and creating a great dance. And this is the both the dilemma and the beauty of what it means to be a human being.
I'd love for us to figure out a way how we can share this with other people through webinars, through programs together. I think that would be, it's been, can I just say, it's been very important for me to share this with not just with your audience, but really with the two of you, and to see and hear the way you both have engaged with these models, this model and the slides, and it's affirming. A lot of times you go off and you create things, and you think it's okay or think it's good, but that's where we need to share it and get feedback and help have others help us flesh it out even further and give their own personal stories to the model. And so that's what you've done for me in the sharing process.
And it's a validation. And especially for me, because Mark, you come from a classically trained psychological and humanistic understanding, and Kumar, you are a directly hands-on and a learn in the action, and I come from an academic, basically. Rules and structure and form, but also philosophy standpoint.
And your musical training.
Yeah, and it, for me, it's incredibly validating that these guys that I studied between 50 years ago and 20 years ago, what they were writing, back 4,000 years ago, what they were writing. And it's like, gee, these guys are saying the real thing. And this is what this actually says to me. It's not just the Aristotles. It's not just the Marcus Aurelius's. It's the Peter Druckers. It's W. Demings. It's the people who are also unwritten and uncelebrated, who just go to work and do this as a natural part of their business. And if we can actually start talking more about this, because the brilliance of this is, I have seen people launch themselves into new wonderful directions in their personal and professional lives once they understand that these mechanisms are not just good for managing and leading work environments. They're good for managing and leading their own destinies. This is the key, Mark, right there. That's the beautiful thing. And when I see that light go on, people will run with it. They won't just walk with it.
That's some of that passion.
Exactly.
That feeling of, wow, I've been holding myself back too long. I've got work to do to bring out my real self.
Exactly. You're not just trying to get a better job. You're not just trying to get a certificate or a degree, but you're actually making your life more worth living. Isn't that cool? Isn't that exciting? That's what I want to be part of.
That is indeed what you're saying, making a lot of sense. What I how I want to summarize here, I mean, we are almost at the end of the show, completing 60 minutes. Uh, I mean, looking back when we started this almost 6 months back, 5, 6 months back, right? We wanted to share the ideas and the thoughts that we have, and we were searching for a platform where we can have people to showcase and discuss and share uh, the thoughts. Finally, we started in 5 months back, precisely. And what a journey we had. I mean, we had so many topics, so many people joining in, and it was fabulous out there. I mean, Tim and Mark, I mean, uh, we are just summarizing the 2020 in terms of our initiatives of getting onto a podcast and sharing thoughts. I mean, what's your key takeaways in the last 5 months ever since we started?
Mark, go ahead.
Okay. Tim's a good leader. He knows when to pass.
I
Believe
can
me, I've done it many times.
okay. I can start. I can start. It's fascinating that whatever conversation I'm with, that I don't cause this to happen. But number one, there's been some world shattering and world shaking things around us that have actually not just refocused everybody, but created an opportunity for us to dig down deep and look for more meaning personally and outside in the world, as well as learn to skill up so that we can handle these events that we know are going to happen more and more and more. And it's exciting that we heard this with Mark and you, Kumar, but everybody else that we've had in this. It doesn't, it's the opposite of the end of the world. It's the beginning. It's just turning a page in a new chapter, and I'm fascinated and excited to see what happens next. This has been the path and the joy for me.
Right. And what sort of discussion we had? We had, I mean, we invited people from various industries and expertise altogether, right from the QA who was working in a pharmaceutical companies to discuss on the vaccine. We discussed on the project management. We discussed on the stress management. We had to add in more. But Mark, what's your feeling in to be part of this podcast?
For me, it's I'm just so excited to be involved with the platform that you and Tim have created, that you've created, Kumar. A little bit like Tim, but I'm sort of like a lone wolf. I go off and do my own thing and come up with these models, um, and while I've had the basic outline of this for many years, well over probably 15, 20 years, I've only just shared it kind of casually, and when it came up, it was I'm always jumping to the next thing. But what you're, I think, maybe helping me realize that some of the stuff I've shared, really now it's time to put this together as a learning sharing package and really
Yep.
get it out there. And that's exciting for me. And and it really will continue to challenge me to develop ideas, come up with more and more effective ways of sharing this information. And so I must say very, very sincerely, thank you. Thank you for helping me, come to a place where I'm more ready to, recognize the value of what's here, and to really share it with the three of you and with all of your
No, what
Potential
makes
reasons out there in the ether.
absolutely. I mean, what makes this show success is basically the people participating out there. I mean, we had people participating, questioning, and then that's kept us motivated, enough to keep on uh, adding more episodes to this. Well, with this, we are almost to the end of the show, and the year is also ending. With the note, just wanted to say thank you so much for being part of this podcast and participating. And we look forward in the next year to add in more topics, add in more discussions. On various points. By the way, Tim, how can I forget? We also discussed politics on this show.
Oh, you can't forget that. That's the power part. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
power part, and that was thrilling as well.
yeah. All right, people. Thank you for being a part of this. We look forward to step into the new year, 2021. I wish you all a very happy new year and a prosperous new year. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay happy. On this note, we are signing off. Thank you so much for being part of here. Enjoy the evening, enjoy the new year, and we'll get connected next week, Tuesday, again, with a new topic to discuss on the table.
Thank you
Cheers.
very much.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a great